finished Rings of Power and I needed a day because good Lord have mercy. I know people are asking, oh, do you still like the show? I mean...
She's lying now.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't really have an answer for you, to be honest. I just know that whatever. Let's just get into, there's a lot of stuff going on. Oh, I'm so glad it's over. There's like 5 seasons of this. Yeah. Okay.
Let's do this.
Yeah.
It's the ring. It has him. Mind and soul.
So Disa says that Durin's father, King Durin, the ring has him mind and soul. I guess he's hurting people and killing them or something, or they can't stop him. I don't know how he was able to get the jump on so many of those doors, but then again, the ring gives him unsurmountable powers. The thing is, I could never know like what the rings actually do because it feels like they keep on changing. No matter who's wearing it, it gives them certain powers. It makes him more greedy, but it also makes him really, really powerful, and he's able to dig for many hours without getting tired, but it also makes him into a dwarven super soldier at the same time. When we saw Durin's father throw him, when he tried to take the ring off of him, clearly the guy has some supernatural powers. As far as I knew from these rings, I didn't think that they were meant to grant the wearers supernatural abilities. I thought they were just used as tools of corruption, maybe to make them more malleable to Sauron's manipulation, but I could be wrong. So Durin's like, look, Disa, no matter what you hear, do not follow me down that mine. You know damn well she's gonna do just that.
You could shut the fuck up.
So Durin tells his father, you don't stop, I'm gonna chop your whole freaking hand off.
Take some of that bass out your voice, bitch.
So his dad asks him whether or not he's strong enough to use the axe against his father since he's strong enough to wield it. Then Durin tells a really cute story. He said, Dad, do you remember when I was a little wee lad? He starts recounting how his father would let Durin lift his hand up just enough to make him think he was winning, and then he would slam his hand down again. And Durin said that I knew then there was nothing stronger than my father. Daddy, be strong again. And he begs his father to take it off.
A dwarf should never beg.
And of course he turns around and continues doing what he's doing. This part was really silly. Even my husband was like, how did he know that last hit was gonna free open the wall? Like, no, don't hit it one more time. After he's been hitting it all this time. Maybe Durin has the superpowers and he doesn't even realize he does. So the father's like, come my son, come see the true wealth of the mountain. And of course, it's a gold mine of mithril, of course. Father's like, if I wasn't wearing the ring, you wouldn't see all this shiznit, would ya? Touch my nose, baby. Dad, can you not? So Durin says, it's not our mountain, father. And the father says, well, with these rings, it can be. And then the light starts shining.
Blinded by the light.
And oh no, it's time for the Balrog to enter the scene.
Run. Run, father!
So one thing I'll say here is that they actually did a good job with the Balrog. Oh my god, wow, look how great is that Frodo? Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ!
You can basically see the heat radiating from the Balrog here. Now people are saying this creature is basically ruled by Morgoth. He's not an animal and Sauron can't control him. So maybe the scene from episode 6 when Annatar came to Durin and him seeing the Balrog in the fire was just him being like, well, that's what's really gonna happen to you since you said no to me. Because the way they edited this after Durin said no made it seem as though Annatar was like, all right, no problem. You said no? That's fine. You'll you'll find out why that was a bad idea soon enough. We look at how they also edited Sauron being here and the Balrog being parallel to him and shooting out as he's looking. Like, look at how it's filmed. After Durin says no, Sauron says, obviously, is displeased with this decision that Durin made. He looks at the fire. Obviously, the others can't see this. This is just him. And he sees the Balrog coming out and roaring, and he's just like, huh, all right, guess I'm gonna leave. So what was that? What was the purpose of them filming it like that? And we've also seen, I mean, don't forgive me as someone who doesn't know any Lord of the Rings lore or barely knows anything at all, but just based on how they're doing things in Rings of Power, seeing how when he was in the water and he stared down that creature, it's like, oh shit, and then it went away. He can scare the shit out of things or control them. He did the same thing with the dog puppy creature when it was left alone with him in the room, and it was like, yo, I'm gonna rip your freaking face off. So then it listens to him and says, all right, boss, I got you. Which is strange to me because in these occurrences, every time he handles an animal or a person, his powers and abilities are always inconsistent. With the shark thing I showed you before, he didn't have to talk to that thing. With the dog, he had to, and that's probably because he was giving it instructions. But then can you blame me for assuming that him in this scene is not controlling the Balrog or influencing it in some way? Maybe he's also influencing the rings, knowing that the dwarves are going to happen upon the Balrog because of the king's greed. You have to understand, from someone who is not actually a fan and knows almost nothing about this lore, why some of this would be confusing. I mean, on one hand, Sauron at his greatest was very powerful, but then he got yoinked by orcs and had not the ability, or rather supernatural ability, to defend himself against these lesser minions. He has more power to siphon life out of things when he's a sopping mop creature than when he's in his human form? Confusing. Anyway, this thing is like, you know what? You guys have been knocking on my door for a long time. Also, the Balrog dragged him. Why did it stop dragging him? It dragged him what? Hey, I'm gonna put my whip up there and drag you just like 3 feet this way. For what reason? So you can see me, of course, and you not die too quickly until there's a heartfelt moment. The Balrog is very beautiful, I'll give it that. Durin tries to save his father, he's like, no! And the thing whips him. The Balrog is weak. Either it's playing with them or something, I don't know. Gandalf was really trying to hold his own against that thing, and he's super powerful. The dwarves are not that, so how they survive this, I have no idea. Then the Balrog's all like, oh god, I gotta climb up here, this is gonna be hard. And he tries like flying away, and I guess he was having some problem climbing up the mountain. I guess the Balrog can't fly. But then he's like, all right, I'm gonna come back down here because I can't get up there very well, so you guys can have a freaking moment. You were supposed to have the moment before I entered the scene, but since you all didn't have that moment, I'm gonna like pretend I fell, and all right, I'll wait for the director to tell you guys that you need to speak, and then I'll come in the scene again so that you can have a very poignant and grandiose spectacle. All right, ready, set, go. And I swear to God, that's exactly what happens. And now here's the part that just gets me. Because the writing in this episode, the writing in the show overall is goddamn. But this part in particular, ooh, okay. Oh no, slow motion and heartfelt, suspenseful, emotional music. Someone's gonna die. Someone's gonna sacrifice themselves. Something horrible's gonna happen. And the Balrog is allowing them to have this moment, just like in the previous battle episode when all of the trebuchets and attacks were happening on the Region. They stopped just long enough for people, Celebrimbor and Galadriel, to have a heartfelt moment. Whenever people are speaking, you know, you gotta just pause all the action and danger. Wow, okay. Interesting. So, okay, let me get this straight. Nothing could make this man take off his ring. And you can say, well, it's because the Balrog scared the freaking gonads off this guy. There's so many questions. If it had a mind, body, and soul, nothing would have been able to make him take off that ring. And you can say it's because he saw his son was hurt. Do you not remember how many other times that happened? And how King Durin himself pushed his son away? And even when death was an issue or a potential outcome, the ring really took over this guy to the point where he couldn't see reason. Now all of a sudden, it's so easy for him to take I feel like this wasn't a payoff. Why was there his hands are fat as fuck. Sorry. If the ring had such supernatural powers to where King Durin couldn't control himself, why would this all of a sudden give him the power? There's no payoff here. Durin had said, "Father, be strong again." As my husband said, there feels like there was a whole episode missing. Everything feels so rushed. The pacing is terrible. The writing is terrible. Let me see if I can put this in better words, because for people who are not watching, you probably wouldn't catch it. And I think the scene would have been a tad more impactful had Durin not been okay. Had his son been injured when he got knocked back. But we see that that's not the case. King Durin knows that his son is alive. Maybe he didn't know before, but throughout this entire show, or at least since King Durin got the rings, the dude has been portrayed as being heavily under the influence of this thing, to the point where it gives him all the supernatural strength, and it just completely impairs his judgment. So it's a corrupting force that started pushing him to the edge of madness. Nothing was within reason. He was reckless to the point where he was endangering his family and the non-existent grandchildren that they never mentioned ever again. And so this sets up the idea already that the ring has a very strong grip on him, and its power over him is way more than what is controllable or what is within reason. If they were really telling a good story, that would rely on a progression of his character development and plot points. King Durin's struggle with the ring should have had this gradual arc where he's gaining strength over time to resist his power, or something significant happens, even more than this, to overcome its influence. But in that case, or in this case, there's no setup for that. There's no internal conflict, no gradual realization. It's just like, man, I still had the ring, and now the Balrog's here, and now I can just take it off easily. This is why I love anime, right? You have anime that have shorter runtimes than this, less series, and they give you the slow-burning character development. It gives the viewers enough time to connect with the character's struggles, their motivations, their internal conflicts. Underdogs or characters under the influence of something sinister, like these rings from Rings of Power, they go through this progressive journey. It doesn't have to be a power creep per se, but it's a journey that just progresses. Even in anime like Solo Leveling, this does a fantastic job of handling the main character, because he starts off as this weak character and he power creeps. He's the weakest hunter. Then he transforms in time, and it feels earned, and there's a payoff. With him constantly putting his life on the line despite his limited abilities, we can relate to him until he transforms into this powerful S-rank hunter, and they were like, yes, and eventually something more powerful than that. It doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual progression, so we could follow his journey. But what is even better is that we see that as Jin Woo grows stronger, there's an internal conflict he has to fight. The more powerful he becomes, the more he risks losing his humanity and turning into the very monsters he's fighting. We see that his power comes from a sinister force. We see him fighting it. But this probably works because we don't have a bunch of different characters that we're hopping around on. Rings of Power probably struggles with delivering satisfying character progression, and it often feels disjointed because it's juggling too many storylines all at the same time. And all this serves to do is dilute the focus and emotional depth that these strong character arcs require, which is why in a scene like this, where the king finally takes off his ring, feels so forced, rushed, and empty. Like with any story that involves a powerful corrupting influence like a ring with dark power, there needs to be a clear and gradual progression showing how the character succumbs to its control. And if you just look at the origin of this, not even just the books, but look at the original movies, we actually see in time that the One Ring's influence over Frodo causes an eventual gradual slow deterioration in how their thoughts or their actions change over time as the ring took greater hold over them. And in King Durin's case, you don't see that gradual corruption. It's he puts on the ring, and now he's corrupted. The show doesn't really take time to depict the mental and emotional or psychological toll that the ring takes on him, only that he put it on, and now he's crazy. It just feels like they rushed this for the sake of the plot, and I understand why, because they don't have time. Too many characters, too many things going on. I'm telling you, if the Dwarven story had been its own movie or thing, I think it would have done well. And I'm sorry, but without seeing King Durin's internal conflict, we as the audience are gonna find it impossible to empathize with his eventual decision to remove the ring. So yeah, this scene feels rushed and like, what the F as hell. You couldn't take it off moments ago when your son's life depended on it, when everybody's life depended on it, when things were happening all around you, but now you can. Because of what? The Balrog? The other reason this doesn't make sense, if you're saying, oh, the Balrog should make him want to take it off, is because him seeing the Balrog should have increased his desire for power. The Balrog represents this ancient destructive force, something that would, understandably, as we've seen in here, triggers fear and desperation and the need for more strength. And given the narrative up to that point, Durin is under the corrupt influence of this ring. This is why he's more greedy. This is why he's more paranoid. He has a lust for power. So him suddenly seeing the Balrog, especially if he wants to protect his son, I don't know, to me would have amplified those feelings, which would push him to cling to the ring even more as a source of protection and strength. I would more so understand if he was able to overcome the hold it had on him so he could use it for good. He'd be like, you know what, while I have the ring on, I'm gonna defeat this thing and then turn around and tell my son I love him despite me wearing the ring. That would have been the ultimate show of power for me, because he's super powered with this ring physically. So it would make sense, and from a narrative standpoint, hit home harder if he kept on the ring, fought the Balrog, and still died, but maintained his integrity or got back his integrity while he was wearing the ring. And then maybe as he's dying, you know, and Durin, maybe the Balrog flings him over to where Durin is, and he's like, Daddy! And he's like crying over him, and his dying, then the father takes off the ring and tells his son he loves him. That would have hit home harder to me, but that's not what happens.
I never let you lift your hand. It's you. Just you. Getting stronger. Look at me, my son. King Durin.
And this is very sad because I do like Durin. I do like the relationship he has with his father. And I feel like though the actors did their ultimate best, they did very well. A lot of the actors in the show do very well. I did like these characters. I would cry if something happened to Durin. You know, I wouldn't be that broken up about it, but he's a nice character. Like, he's a very likable character. Dare I say it, one of the best. Well, yeah, the only nice good guy in the entire, that's horrible to say. But if we had more time, I feel like they would be better fleshed out. But his father, the last thing he sees of his father is being a badass. And this is honestly so sad. And you cannot tell me that all the money went into the scene because, first of all, other movies and shows have done well with this kind of animation where only like 3 people were doing it and they had a very low budget and the entirety of the runtime looks better than what we've seen. And you also have AI now that can generate stuff that looks like this. No animation needed. You enter a prompt and then maybe you bring it into another animation software, but it does like the heavy lifting for you and 90% of what you need. I can't even be like, wow, this looks like an expensive ass scene. No, it's not. And even if this were to look shitty, I would rather it look shittier and us have some good substance, as long as it's not totally distracting. So I feel bad for Durin that his father died, but whatever. And then now, you know, that was like the better part of this episode. Everything else is just complete ass. Because after the intro, we have freaking Dollar Tree Gandalf all of a sudden teleports to the location of, hey, it's Master Oogway, the freaking Dark Wizard. This is where the stores were. And Master Shifu over here is like, hey, old friend, what's going on? And my husband and I were both confused because the last time we saw the Gandalf guy, right, he was talking to Dom Bamba, whatever his name was. He said, well, I want to save my friends. And he's like, yeah, well, you got to choose power or friends, with destiny or friends, whichever one. And then he just is here. There's no progression to him getting to that area or making that decision. This scene is so problematic. One of the biggest issues here, and I like saying stuff like this because sometimes I know we laymen, right? We're not getting paid to do this. We're not great writers, but yet I feel like we could do a better job than these people who are being paid so much money. What did you go on strike for, bro? Like, anyway, the biggest issue with the stranger's sudden appearance in the stores area is that the last time we saw him, his path and his choices were uncertain. For the audience, seeing him randomly appear at the exact place Nori and Poppy are feels really disjointed because there's no visible process of him coming to that decision. In strong character arcs, especially especially with characters who are undergoing internal change or facing important decisions, we need to see them wrestle with those decisions before they take action. This doesn't have to be drawn out, but just a brief moment of reflection or dialogue or thoughts or something, montage, whatever it is, indicating that the Gandalf dude feels compelled to help his friends would have made his appearance feel more natural. And then you transition into that. If you don't have that, it just feels like the character just teleported from one point to another without logical or emotional connection, and that leaves us all confused. It's jarring as hell. The characters need to have a clear motivation before making big decisions, and we need to be privy on those internal moments. Maybe he remembers how, Nori and him were, and honestly, I don't even know how they're going to draw from that, because it's not like their character development or the chemistry between them is good. It maybe started off that way, but it just completely was killed in season 2. So Nori and this guy don't even feel like friends. It doesn't feel like there's anything between them. Not like with Gandalf and Frodo, which is what they're trying to draw inspiration from. For something that is supposed to be so important to this character, you'd think that we'd see him struggling over choosing his friends and saving the entire world. Especially after we were told he was going to make that decision, or not make the decision, but he was granted with those two choices, fork in the road. He saw this vision of this happening. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh, surprise, I guess he chose here. When a character makes a decision to find or help someone, especially in the vast world like Middle Earth, there's usually some sort of transition or journey involved. Like I said, brief montage, short scene of showing the travel, or a reflection that marks their shift in purpose. We don't know how he found Nori or Poppy. That's the other thing too. This is why this is pissing me off. He asked this guy where Nori and Poppy were. He had no idea where they were. How is he teleported here all of a sudden? How the fuck did he know they were here? Excuse me? How? Lazy much? But no, we're the toxic people for pointing out that this writing is fucked.
This old friend, follow me, and you shall have them. Your past, your name, even your staff.
I did not make the journey alone. 2 halflings gave me aid.
Yes, Eleanor Brandyfoot and Poppy Proudfellow, you need not worry. I have seen to it. The small ones.
So you know this, but how did you get... Then anyway, this dark wizard is making it look like he's his friend, and he sees them, and he's like, look, don't worry, they won't be harmed. Oh my god. I'm sorry I'm reacting so viscerally, but this whole thing pisses me off. Anyway, he's like, bring the half things out. They're here. I don't give a fuck about them, to be honest. I hope their heads get chopped off.
Okay, Nori, I instructed they were not to be harmed.
They won't be, once you have given us all that we were promised.
Forgive me, old friend. I thought these nomads might help me find you. I see now I was foolish to place trust in such low company.
Also, the Gandalf stranger guy, this guy's being nice. He doesn't know anything about this guy past what he probably heard from other people. The Tom guy, he's like, okay, well, this guy, I guess he's evil. But him being like this, you would think he'd let his guard down a little bit because he's kind of naive and stupid. But he doesn't trust him, understandably. Sure, why not? But this whole scene that takes place afterwards had me wanting... This is the reason why I hate these characters. This is why I don't care if they get their feet chopped off and stuffed up their ass. Because it just makes no sense. It makes them unlikable, and this is why people don't help each other anymore, and that's why they deserve to die.
My people were once kings, wizard. Marshal! Marshal, stop!
We tried to find you.
Why about you lying?
Bitch, no, you didn't. You guys weren't trying to do anything. You guys wanted to find out where you were, and then Poppy fell in love with Gooseneck over there, and they stayed with the stores, and that's where it fucking ended. No, you did not try to find him. He tried to find you more than you tried to find him, you fucking pencil necks. Oh my god, I hate these characters. I hate these characters more than I hate anybody in this entire show. They are such nothing characters. They're useless. What is even the point of them being here? Just to say we have freaking hobbits? Oh, and it gets worse.
My dear friends.
Who you never mention, like you rarely mention them while you're with Tom getting your back blown out in the tub. Okay, sure, my dear friends. No matter how much they try to convince and gaslight the audience into thinking these things care about each other, I don't believe it.
Is he the fellow you were looking for out here all along?
Dark wizard.
That is a name I do not embrace. Placed upon me by men long ago out of ignorance and fear of our kind. I hope my actions today will lead you to know better of me.
Good old American writing. Am I right? Oh my god. Oh my god. Are we gonna now feel sorry for the fucking guy that tried to kill them? This is why our justice system's fucked, by the way. This is why this country is going to shit, because this dude has been hunting down these people, has committed acts of violence against the stores, have threatened to kill them and would kill them to get what they want, had a knife at Nori's throat, and the wizard is like, no, fuck that. These characters have been established as dangerous enemies with malicious intent. They kill in cold blood. From a logical perspective, Nori and the Harfeets should recognize that these individuals pose a threat, a direct threat to their survival. I don't know why they would be upset at this. They do worse to each other. But this scene is wild.
This the sort of action you mean?
You pity him whose blade was at your throat.
Yes.
Stop fucking lying.
The reason why her answering this is also very hypocritical and stupid is because prior to this, prior to Nori, Poppy, and the stranger getting separated from each other, stranger guy, while these things were trying to actively kill them, generated a sandstorm tornado thing that killed a few of these dudes anyway. He did the same thing in a different way, which honestly almost cost Nori and Poppy their lives as well, and he ended up killing some of those guys. He doesn't say anything about that, nor do they. But yet, they find that the other wizard somehow was worse because he did the same thing, which is use his power to neutralize one of these guys to save their lives, as far as they know.
This the sort of action you mean?
You pity him whose blade was at your throat.
Yes.
Wow. And they just leave it at that. These dudes pose a lethal threat to them and the stores that are behind you. Can you imagine the other stores being brutalized by these people for so long? And then these two new strangers like, we pity the criminals that have killed a lot of stores and tried to kill us. All that serves to happen is that these dumbasses look stupid and morally confused. They're contradicting their own sense of right and wrong by expressing sympathy for individuals who had clearly demonstrated evil intentions, which means they probably would have pity for Sauron. The other reason why this is stupid is because it undermines the seriousness of the villains. These desert guys are portrayed as dangerous villainous figures that have hurt people and killed them. They represent the end of a direct threat. But then again, I'm also talking about a show that wants us to sympathize with orc daddies and with evil people. So I don't know why I'm surprised. So the Dark Wizard turns on him and is like, you know what? Pity won't save you against Sauron, but I'll give you a taste of all the suffering that Middle-earth will know. Even though Gandalf guy's like, I thought you were with Sauron. But what he really wants is for him and Gandalf to be their successor, or his successor. And Gandalf is able to control this stuff without a staff. Meanwhile, we cut back to Numenor, and all of these religious leaders, or the leaders of the faith, are there with a stupid pinch mouth person. And this guy's like, you know what? That last test that we saw with Queen Muriel, she actually was able to bewitch the sea. So that's what happened. And this guy gets a letter, you know, now he knows that Sauron exists. So apparently now all the faithful people are traitors of Westeros. Sorry, of Numenor, whatever. This also felt very jarring. And this daughter who did all of this, who was a catalyst for all of this, is like, Daddy, there's no time to explain, you've got to run, because they're coming for him. And she sticks up for her father, which she should have done a while back. And we forgot Moss from IT Crowd, his death has not come up again, has not been mentioned, because it didn't matter. As far as we're concerned, that creature, he didn't exist. Who is he? No one cares. So Muriel's like, I'm staying. And he's like, you really think I would ever consider making safe my own skin and leaving you behind?
You know it is. And where is mine? If not with you.
Oh my god.
Anyway, she gives him a sword of significance. She says it's called Narsil. I don't know how she knew he was looking at it. Apparently it's gonna be important somehow. But anyway, the orcs have now entered a region. And these freaking soldiers, first of all, how do they have an endless supply of arrows? Where are they getting them from? These guys have single-handedly, all freaking 13 or 20 of them, have been holding off an entire horde of orcs with an endless supply of arrows, which you can see runs out. Where are they getting the replenishments? Like, who's bringing the arrows to them? But now, apparently, they just get shot immediately. Meanwhile, Galadriel is trying to help all the elves. Yo, there's some chunky ass looking elves, man. Call me crazy, but why are these elves so freaking thick? Aren't elves supposed to look... Okay, it's one thing when they're like, oh, they're all different colors mixed and matched. Okay, sure. But you got corpulent elves as well? Really? Like, I have never seen elven people portrayed as being fat. They're not humans. I don't know, Tolkien's elves and all elves that I've seen, every elven portrayal that I've seen has always leaned heavily on their physical perfection, grace, and athleticism.
Elves. We always see them in movies, anime, books, and even in games. Where did they really come from? They are mythical creatures that come from ancient stories in Germanic and Norse cultures, known for their incredible beauty and special abilities. Elves are closely connected to nature and are often seen living in forests or secret places.
So as Myth Nerd pointed out, elves are always portrayed as very beautiful. You can even see in this video, this person put together a ranking system for elves, and notice how they have a certain aesthetic. They are often described as being ageless, physically fit, very agile, very slender and tall and fit. They do not share the same aesthetics as humans. They don't have the same metabolism as humans. They're an entirely different species of creature. Their way of life involves constant movement and engagement with nature, whether they're in their peaceful realms like Rivendell or in more military situations. They're hunters, warriors, craftsmen, scholars, but they're always active, which means their lifestyles would not lend themselves to gaining weight the way sedentary beings might. I don't even think the humans in this world would more so be fat. I can understand them having fat humans, that makes more sense. But even still, I don't think the majority of them would be fat because everybody is active. They're not all sitting on computers and eating fast food. Moreover, elves have a special relationship with nature, and their diet would reflect this. Them being so close to nature and understanding the physical balance of things, and with them being so wise, that would imply that they maintain an exceptionally healthy and active lifestyle. So the idea of an elf becoming fat because of inactivity is very contradictory to their lifestyle, and more so their biology. And again, I just need to reiterate this, they're not built like this, bro. Elves are not built like, they don't look like this. These things are just humans. Just make them humans. They're not elves. It's the same way it would look very weird if we had a dwarf that was very slim and tall. They're dwarves. They're all supposed to be stout and beefy and fat, or more so stocky. But you're looking at half of these characters and you cannot tell what they are. That is a problem. Why are people so threatened with showcasing very beautiful and skinny people? You can have beautiful fat people too. I'm not saying that fat people are ugly, but in the realms of elves and how they've always been portrayed, you don't see fat elves. I don't know what the point of this was. Did they not have enough people to go around? Anyway, the elven group with their pudgy mothers. Jesus Christ. It's so annoying. I'm not gonna say anything. Anyway, they come out and they're surrounded by orcs. And she says, set them free and I will go willingly. And he says, give me one reason, which he wouldn't have said because orcs would just freaking kill them, but whatever. She says, I'll give you 9. And she shows him that she has the 9 rings. We switch over to Celebrimbor being tortured, just like in Galadriel's dream. And Sauron being like, okay, you can tell me where the rings are. We can keep making you into a pincushion. Your decision. Like I said, I love Sauron, but even in this scene, it annoys me, and I'll tell you why. Sauron is getting all emotion saying, all I've done, I did it for you. I wish only to share them with the world. Please, let me.
But the rings are beyond your reach, as I shall be ere long. For soon I shall go to the shores of the morning.
Just FYI, if someone is torturing you, don't tell them, hey, I'm gonna be dead soon and you can't be able to torture me. All it's gonna serve to do is make the person keep you alive, which is exactly what Sauron decides to do. And he says, must I show you my mastery of that craft as well? I'm like, all right, we're on a good track here. Sauron is sticking to his character until he starts getting emotional.
Your words are empty. No, hear me. Hear me! Shadow of Mordor! Hear the dying words of Celebrimbor. The rings of power shall destroy you. And in the end, I foresee, one alone shall prove your utter ruin! I am the master. No, you are the prisoner. Sauron, Lord of the Rings. Are you Sauron?
Don't you see me crying? Why is he crying? He gets emotionally, cries, you know, during his attempt to force Celebrimbor to reveal where the rings are. For me, it just feels like a very stark departure from the Sauron that we knew. I mean, his ability to deceive and manipulate comes from his cunning and strategic mind, not from outbursts of emotion. Also, the reason why this scene is so freaking stupid is because, I don't know if anyone else missed this, Sauron, doesn't need to torture the guy to make him talk. In earlier episodes, and even in the earlier season of Rings of Power, Sauron has shown an ability to control the minds of others with ease or manipulate them. We just saw him use his powers to turn these soldiers against each other that were not even that close to him to begin with, and he expertly made them just annihilate each other. He took control of the puppy thing at the orc encampment. They've already shown us that Sauron has the ability to bend the will of others to his own. So I'm sorry, but him torturing Celebrimbor to get the information he wants is not only unnecessary, but illogical. If Sauron has the ability to control minds and infiltrate the thoughts of his victims, why couldn't he just simply use his power to force Celebrimbor to reveal the location of the 9 rings, or at least tell him that Galadriel had them? Dude, the show has already shown us and established that Sauron is capable of subtle manipulation and mental control, so them resorting him to physically torturing someone just seems like a regression in his character. He also appears helpless, which completely contradicts the previous powers we just saw. For example, Sauron displayed telekinetic abilities. It's shown in the scene where Celebrimbor comes out and they all think he's crazy, and we see this in full force with his telekinetic powers, which I didn't even know he had.
He is Sauron! Get him open!
Come, my lord.
Get your hands off me! No!
So it's already been demonstrated multiple times, only recently, like I showed also with the soldiers turning on each other, that Sauron can manipulate both people and objects without direct physical contact. The show itself established this just now, right, in the previous episode. He's also showcased being able to put people in a grand illusion or delusion to make them see what they want to see. So if Sauron so wanted, he could have made it easily look like Celebrimbor got away, he escaped, only to find Galadriel, and she's like, it's all safe now, here are the rings, make sure you destroy them, and then it's revealed that the illusion falls away, and it's revealed to poor Celebrimbor that he had been imagining this all along because Sauron distorted reality, which he has the power to do. You can't showcase someone having immeasurable power like this and then nerfing them in the very next scene. It doesn't make sense. Now he's torturing Celebrimbor because he's helpless and desperate, and he can't get this guy to give up where the rings are. Also, torture is a really primitive method for him. He already was able to get Celebrimbor to come this far because he told the guy, I will torch everybody in the city if you don't do what I say. He could have easily gotten someone from outside and cutting heads off and said, I'm going to continue killing all of them until you give me the ring. So I can kill off all these elven women here, or you give me the ring. There's a bunch of elven people just running around, unable to find themselves outside the city for some reason. So him torturing this guy who's already given up on life seems very counterintuitive and like a stupid decision for Sauron. The writing just falls apart.
Are you him? Are you Sauron?
I have many names. What is yours? Uruk.
Oh my god, you're my new daddy! Okay, the whole orc thing is just kind of ridiculous in my opinion. We come full circle now because obviously we know that this dude, Orc Daddy, does not love Adar anymore, even though Adar said that I'm doing this, we're fighting so that Sauron doesn't enslave you. This was the whole reason you all turned against him in the first place and followed me. But now, because the orcs care about dying and having children and families, now he's gonna go against his own interests, which is what humans do anyway, to go serve someone, which honestly, this only proves that the orcs are not redeemable, because by the end of this episode, you see why. Like, it doesn't make any sense to love them or anything, because they've proven that they are what they are. There's no sense in sympathizing with them, because they're dumb. They want to serve evil. Anyway, Long Beach Griffey's long lost kid comes in. They have a heart-to-heart talk about mothers, and he hugs him goodbye and whatnot. And then the girl comes in. The bitch who's supposed to get married to that other guy. I don't know why the writers are trying so hard to make us like every character that we should like, except for Durin. Every single one of the good guy characters are so irredeemably unlikable. It's like horror movies where they just put superficial characters in because you know they're gonna get killed off by a creature. So this girl comes in and listen to this conversation.
Are you building a home?
Hagen started laying the foundation a few days ago. When he laid the cornerstone, he asked the gods to keep our love strong as long as the home stood.
I'm happy for you.
I always thought his kindness was what love felt like.
Oh, here we go. So I don't know why I was surprised at this, but This made me feel physically ill watching this, hearing what she's gonna say. So her fiance came back and he's laying the foundation of the home. He's building a home for them with his hands, with everything that he's been through as well, thinking he lost her, coming back and finding her. And first order of business, let me build a shelter for my wife, for my fiance, so we can have a home and start a family. And she says that I always thought his kindness was what love feels like. I'm telling you, like, half of the guys out here that are kind to women, I'm not saying you should be mean, but let's be honest. You can have a great guy who is perfect in every way, and the woman will be like, nah, I'm too happy. I want problems. Let me go 9-inch Gary next door. And he doesn't like me. He'll never commit. He's cheating on all his girlfriends. He doesn't tell me he loves me, treats me like shit. He ghosts me and only calls me once he wants a booty call. Doesn't give me anything. I'm the one who has to go over to his house. Yeah, that's who I'll be obsessed with, not my husband, who is breaking his back to provide for me and who actually loves me and would give his life for me. Not him. Nope, that's not attractive. 9-inch dick Gary over here who fucks me up. That's what I need. I don't need stability. I don't need someone who actually legitimately... Gary would not lay down his life to save me, but I choose him. And this is what this is giving. I'm not saying she should like someone or fall in love with someone just because they were kind, but this just showcases that she never actually even loved that guy. Oh, but it gets worse.
I always thought his kindness was what love felt like, but when he said it, I felt ill. I felt like...
Why are you telling me this?
Fucking rancid ass whore. God, what a fucking thought. You don't know him. You don't know this dude. Oh my God. And it's the swelling music for me. It's the way that they're thinking that we're supposed to be on board with this and be like, oh, that's so romantic that she's cheating on her fiance who's building a house for her with this guy that she stabbed and deceived and was trying to use him to get into Numenor. Oh, how romantic. Fuck off. Oh my God, this is so disgusting. What a fucking bitch. She probably is walking with a bunch of STDs in her freaking mouth alone. Disgusting. How many other dudes does she do this to? I hope Hagen cuts his losses and leaves this bitch. Oh my God, she's so disgusting. And this dude is an asshole. It's more on her because she's the one who has a fiance, which means that they were dating at some point. They seem to be free peoples. So it's not like it's an arranged marriage. So you had a fucking choice. This dude is also a freaking asshole. You know that this is his fiance. And then he's all like, run away with me. Oh my God.
Come with me. Come with me to Numenor.
I hope he gets cheated on. I hope he catches, like, what are the STDs out there? Gonorrhea, or one of them. I hope he catches all of them. First of all, you're not even that good looking. Like, if you're even gonna cheat on someone, bro, get, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, fucking Elmo over here. That's what, never mind. I don't even know why I'm getting mad about this, but it's just, ooh. And then the writers are trying to gaslight us into making us think that this is somehow wholesome. It's not. It's not, you fucking corrupt ass people. Jesus. And I'm sorry. As a writer myself, I'm not a professional writer, but I write a lot of stories. And I also write, surprise, surprise, sci-fi, fantasy, monster stuff, horror, and erotica. Whatever. There are a lot of fucked up things that I do in my stories and the characters do. No holds bar, right? The Godzilla fan fictions that are only fan fictions, that's very tame in comparison to what I usually do with some of my stuff. It doesn't mean that I want to do those things, so I'm not gonna sit here and be like, the writers are... I tease, but I hope you guys know I'm joking. I don't actually think that the writers are evil. I don't know them personally, so there's no way of knowing that. They're writing characters, whatever. But when every single one of the characters, not even one, just one character, every single one of them, it's not even just one character's like that. In my story for the fanfiction for Godzilla, he's an asshole. That's his character. Rodan is an asshole sometime. Kong is a good guy. Mothra is decent, but she has some issues as well. They're all different. You know what I mean? In Rings of Power, all of these characters feel almost exactly the same in their display of morality. Maybe that's not a bad thing because I know the show Shameless is like that as well, but I feel like Shameless writes it better because, I mean, the show is called Shameless. They admit, they're very aware that the characters are fucked up. Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which my husband introduced me to, the characters are fucked up. Curb Your Enthusiasm, which he also introduced me to, the characters are fucked up. those shows are very aware that these characters are this. Rings of Power tries to make you feel like this is right. The way they direct it, they're not acknowledging that it's fucked up. They're trying to make you feel like it's normal. This is fine. Girl, you don't know him. How long have they known? Okay. So Joffrey 2.6 is like, hey guys, blah, blah. You know, I don't even, honestly, if you can't tell, I don't care. His daddy wants him to build a watchtower here and he doesn't like poor people. And then he finds out Isildur is alive and he's like, oh my God, your sister will be so pleased to see you. He's hugging him. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, there's plenty of room on the ship. And he said, well, one more shouldn't be any trouble because he's gonna take this bitch who has a freaking fiance because she wants to go to Numenor, which is full of all the rich people there because she's using you, you fucking idiots. And of course, this guy's like, yeah, no normal people or layman people or whatever he said, don't care.
It might have been worse. If I'd had it my way, the old fool would be dead.
So he's talking about his father. Like, yeah, your father's a traitor now, by the way. I hope you know that. Why does this dude look like Lord Farquaad? Look, like, you know how like certain people can get away with certain things because they're hot? He's not though. So it's one thing when you have a really good looking dude or a really good looking woman and she's like acting the fool. It still makes her look like a disgusting person. But then it's another thing to have someone who already looks ugh, and then they're acting disgusting on top of it. Not saying that he's acting disgusting because of his father, but I'm just saying it makes it worse because you're not hot enough to be acting like this. Stealing someone else's woman, which makes me be like, whatever. I don't even know why I bother. I know I'm harping on it, but this show is so annoying. The guy is like, well, I'll have them slaughtered and whatnot, and she's sad because, oh no, I can't use him to go to the city, which is what I wanted. So now, of course, he's sad. Good for your dumbass. This scene was pretty interesting, but it was also very annoying. This whole scene. So these guys are like, the she-elf turned herself in, Adar. Honestly, when they were walking up to Adar, I thought that was a girl from the back. He's just given woman. Look, like, it almost seems like that with his clothes and, you know, anyway. So he said, leave us alone, which they do. So Adar's like, how do you expect to destroy Sauron without your ring? And I already knew his face was fixed before he said that because he's like, now listen to what they say. Listen to what is said here. Very important. He said, it would seem even wounds that have endured an age can sometimes yet be healed.
Even wounds that have endured an age can sometimes yet be healed.
He looked better before, in my opinion. So Galadriel's like, oh my God, you're hot. You're my new beau now. He said it was a meaningless name, a name I was given. Adar is a name I earned. I don't remember who I was before this. Oh no, I'm broken, save me. I can fix you. And then he decides to give her the ring and says, help me earn back my name, right? And so he takes off his ring, which he has the ability to do, and gives it back to her.
And I swear to you, I will recall my children to Mordor, never to make war on Middle-earth again.
I have slain more of your children than any elf alive.
Have you now? Interesting. I've not seen any indication of that, you know? How are we supposed to know that? The people who are just watching this that know nothing about the lore are sitting here wondering, they're gonna show us this? Did we miss an episode? Because she's telling us that she's all that in a bag of hair, and she's slain way more orc than any other elf, including the ones that just went to battle with them. Really? By yourself? One of those situations that should have been with showing and telling. I don't even know why bring that up. You could have just been like, I've slain orcs. But no, she had to be all like, I've slain more of your children than any elf alive. And have a sad face while she's saying it. Get off.
Lien, Absenin.
He says, I forgive you in the elfin language. Do you really? Why is Adar way more kind-hearted than everybody else right now? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
No more flames, and no more darkness. Let this ring heal the rift between elf and orc. Let us create a lasting peace in Middle-earth, now and forever.
So was he an elf before? Because that's what it seems like. It feels like elves that are corrupted turn into orcs. So they're basically the same, except orcs are pure evil. But then they carry an orc daddy. He said what happened. Oh, apparently this guy's name is Glug. He said that he tried to make Glug betray you, but he resisted and this happened to him. My first thing would have been like, how did he leave you alive? And Glug says, it's too late. And Adar says, it's never too late, my son. But Glug's like, it's too late for you, Dad. Oh, shit. it. And of course, they betray him because they wanted to. And Sauron is right there. He's like, yeah, buddy. How does it feel? What goes around comes around. Am I right? Hello. So they all stab the hell out of Adar. He dies exactly the same way Sauron does, which makes sense. Doesn't make sense though why Sauron would die that way. And he says, my children. And then just like Ollie from freaking Game of Thrones, Glug is like, I'll stab him one last time so I can betray him right in the heart. Ah, Daddy, you should have listened. Then he tells all the orcs to just completely kill everything in Eregion, like they already were doing. And then they start hailing Sauron.
Leave no one alive, but bring me their leaders.
So they were chanting over and over again, hail Sauron, the Dark Lord or whatever, hail Sauron. And don't tell me Sauron manipulated them. They already wanted to betray Adar. So she's like, you planned all this. And he's like, you think too much of me, bitch. The writers don't even think that far. Then they start fighting, which is very interesting to me. I don't know why Galadriel is able to be so antagonistic or recalcitrant towards him, because didn't Gil-galad say that she was the most susceptible to his prowess and his powers because he's been deep inside of her or her mind, whichever, both. You know what I'm talking about, right? She should be fighting a bigger battle than she is. She does get cut a few times, but tell me how she's able to hold up her own against Sauron when he was busting all kinds of guts. Now he's a better fighter than them, but I'm sorry. One more thing. Probably don't remember this because you probably are like the writers that have very short-term memory, but does he not have the power of telekinesis? He barely knew those soldiers, those elf soldiers that came in with Celebrimbor, but was able to get into Galadriel's mind. Why is he not using, did he forget he had, the whiplash I'm getting, it feels like a bunch of people got together and different people worked on this episode and didn't know what the previous episodes entailed. They're just like, write a story, or ChatGPT, write a story, and you completely forget what happened in the last. Anyway, in Eregion, they bring the leaders, and this part is so stupid because freaking Elrond's like, no, Uruk, don't burn those. The wisdom of all whoever dwelt in this place, the last works and stuff of Celebrimbor are in that pile. Its value is beyond jewels or even blood. Don't do it. Okay, buddy. Since you said so, I won't. Like, why would you do that? You know these things don't care about you. They killed a whole bunch of your people just now. He's about to burn it. It's in a pile. They know what it is. They don't care. That's why they're burning it. They put the scrolls in a pile on purpose. What makes you think that they don't know that they're valuable? And what makes you believe that you saying that they're valuable is gonna make them stop? That's gonna make them wanna burn it more. Oh, you like this? Oh, this is gonna feel even better, you watching me burn this shit then. Elrond is such a dumbass. I swear to God. I don't care what happens to him. If he dies, he dies. I like that he was able to stick it to Galadriel, but let's be honest, most of these characters, nobody cares about them. Nobody cares. I would laugh if they all died and dropped dead for no reason. And at that point, I wouldn't even be surprised.
Cowardly traitors!
How are they traitors? They're orcs. They were never with you, you dumbass. How about you get a clue? Grow back your freaking sideburns and get some of the brain material that you lost through them back in your head. They were never with you. Who are you calling traitors? Who did they betray? By the way, this is so inconsistent. There's an orc who's on fire and none of his friends are trying to put him out. If they really cared about each other dying all that much, they would be trying to put that guy's body out. On one hand, they show, we have families, we don't want to die, we care about each other. And then they're throwing bodies at the freaking wall or stabbing each other to get them out the way, or telling others, hey, you dumbasses, I don't care if you die, keep pushing. And one of them is on fire, one of their comrades is on fire, they don't even make an attempt. They don't even blink, they don't try to put him out, nothing. But we're supposed to feel sorry for them. So he says that Sauron wants the leaders unharmed for some reason. And we watch all the scrolls burning, and this means absolutely nothing because there wasn't any significance with these things in the first place. I don't care. Galadriel's still fighting Sauron, who looks like he's effortlessly fighting her back or just toying with her. Again, you could use telekinesis. Maybe he's trying to show that he's better. But He's giving her one last chance. We figured that's why he is playing around with her right now. I'll give you one last chance. You know, you can touch the darkness with me and all that light, the boat, the rock, the sinking. It doesn't matter. Just be with me.
We are not alike. We never were. It was just another of your illusions.
Not all of it.
How? How? Huh? Como? How? Bruh. This guy's supposed to be older than Galadriel, right? He's supposed to have... Alright. He says not all of it was illusions. That means he did like her, right? So he can't even land on his feet. She lands on her feet. What a heavy freaking elf. Look at how heavy she is when she falls. What kind of CGI was that? Look at the physics. Oh, that was bad. Oh my god. Ew. Look. Whee. Boom. She just dropped like a freaking rock. Would she weigh 200 pounds? Like, how? Wow. Millions of dollars. Anyway, she's about to, whatever that pose is, and she sees Halbrand, the way he looked before, and she's like, oh my god. Oh, do you remember me? You want some fuck? Dick Daddy? Somehow, he's like, I wanted to fight at your side, and of all the things that he could have turned into. Throughout this entire fight of him using things, herself, Celebrimbor, I would have thought the thing he would have used, like he did before, was her brother. By the way, her husband, that she had mentioned, never brought up again. But Galadriel gets up because she's powerful. He says, I know your mind. She already established that she can know what Sauron is going to do, which means he knows what they're going to do. So her being there, shouldn't he know every move she's going to make?
The door is still open.
The door is shut.
Why is he so emotional and mad? Why is he losing his shit? Like he is giving everything he's got and cannot win against this woman. This shouldn't even be a contest. Look at him. He's losing his fucking mind and losing the battle. Like, it's so dumb. Did they do this for drama's sake? It's not hitting the way it should because, again, the writers seem to have forgotten, but we didn't. You have the power of telekinesis! And it's not like Sauron has honor. You can shove her, you can use the... Oh my god. Unless you really don't want to kill her. I'm so confused. It's not just her though. He had other instances where he could use... Why don't they remember what powers he has? Oh my god. So then he's like, you know what? I'm done playing with you because we needed drama and I'm going to stab you instead because that is what it is. Just a flesh wound, it's not her heart. Don't worry. Notice that Galadriel is stabbed, right? I want you guys to see that she's stabbed. Can you see that? Right? Okay. She's an elf and she got stabbed, correct? Another thing. I know I'm going somewhere with this. Just bear with me. You notice this guy, right? He was stabbed as well. Bro, I think he was stabbed twice. Yep, he was stabbed twice. I want you to remember that. He was stabbed twice and he was crawling on the floor and I'm like, oh, he's dead. You remember that, right? Celebrimbor was stabbed as well, but he was shot through with arrows, which is not as bad, but still bad. He wasn't mortally wounded by the arrows, but he was mortally wounded with this javelin thing and died very shortly afterwards. Just making sure we're establishing that.
I would have placed a crown upon your head. I would never have rested until all Middle-earth had been brought to its knees to worship the light of its queen.
Yeah, she's not that special. It would have been better if you used Mardania. That would have been great. So she says the free peoples of Middle-earth will always resist you. And he's like, okay, if you say so. Let's see how good you resist. He kicks her sword away and he says the rings are mine. He could have easily have just taken the rings away from her plenty of times, plenty of opportunities to do so. Even if you didn't want to hurt her, you could have used telekinesis to just take the rings from her, but whatever. We cut back to Elrond and the others. Now remember how I said that the one guy was stabbed, like, you know, when elves get stabbed, they are mortally wounded, right? And that one guy got stabbed twice. Guy's moving pretty sturdy for someone who was stabbed twice and on the ground and dying. Anyway, one of the dwarves tells Elrond that Durin is mourning his father. We cut back to Sauron telling Galadriel, to give him her ring. Don't know why he's asking her. He could just fucking take it. He keeps asking her, your ring, Galadriel. Why are you asking her? So she takes it off, makes it look like she's gonna give it to him. We all know she's not. She says, you wish to heal Middle Earth, and we think that she's gonna say something emotionally scathing to him or something like, this is top tier writing, by the way. This is how much I spent this money on. We think it's gonna be a big speech or something impactful, you know? But this is what she says instead, and I never cringed so freaking hard. Jesus Christ, whoever wrote this, I love you, but maybe you should stop writing.
To heal Middle Earth, heal yourself.
Really? Heal yourself? That's what we're going with. And you have telekinesis! You have the power. You had the power to throw someone off a cliff. You don't have the power to stop her from falling. Do you know how badass that would have been if he used the freaking force and stopped her mid-fall and she was like, oh shit, and then he brought her back up and you hear the music, suspenseful swelling to indicate that we are dealing with an entity here that's more powerful than we knew? Why does he not use the telekinesis powers? Why did he even introduce that in the first place if you're gonna use it for when you feel like it and then make the character forget that he has it in the neck? This would have been one of those cases where he would have used it because he needed this. But no, he let her fall and was like, oh no, you fell. Crap, what am I gonna do now? This is horrible writing. Jesus Christ. I said this was better than The Acolyte, but at this point, I don't know. It's prettier than The Acolyte, I'll give it that, but damn. So she falls and Glug comes back and says, we're overwhelmed, Sauron. It is what it is. Sauron's mad because, you know, he just lost Galadriel in the rings when he didn't have to. And I guess Glug came at the wrong moment.
The dwarves are securing the elves' retreat if we pursue many orders.
The way that guy was like, nope, I'm good. Glug was about to say, if we pursue them, many orcs will die. He's a coward. He's a coward. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be afraid to die, but if you're fighting, well, you don't even know what you're fighting for, because the whole reason why Adar had them fighting in the first place was to kill Sauron so he wouldn't enslave them, you idiot. Now you're turning on Sauron and worshiping him. He still has his mind because he's saying the same things he was saying before. So you can't even say that Sauron was manipulating this guy. He knew damn well what he was doing. He knew damn well what he was doing. And he's like, many orcs will die. Sauron don't give a fuck. Who did you think you were dealing with, bro? What did you think was gonna happen? Why did you even continue the fight? You knew they were gonna die anyway. These things don't know any better. Like, I'm sorry. You could call that racism if you want. Whatever. They're orcs. They're evil. They don't know any fucking better. They will turn on you. This guy loved them. Or this guy could have left. He could have left and been like, you know, let me take my family and get out of here like the other two deserter orcs that did. And they died anyway. This Glug could have done that. He didn't do that. He didn't take a bunch of his orcs and be like, guys, let's just leave. You care so much about your brethren, but you're like, you can turn on him and face him, but you can't just leave. You can't put down your weapons and be like, look, we're not fighting for you anymore. You love us, I get it, and you want to protect us, but I have a family, I'm out. That's what most intelligent things would do. But no, he chose to keep fighting, and as long as they're winning and whatever, they're fine with cutting down people who are innocent. They don't care, so I do not feel sorry for him. We can say that Galadriel's in the state that she's in because she got stabbed with a dark object. But this guy got stabbed and he's running around and acting like nothing happened. The entire time I'm wondering to myself, did we not see him get stabbed? Are they trying to gaslight us again? He got stabbed mortally. He was mortally wounded, like a freaking shish kebab. And he's just running around like ain't no thing. I was even telling my husband, I was so annoyed. I'm like, how is he still alive? And my husband was like, because he's black. I'm like, don't even. They killed off the other black elf, right? If they're supposed to say that tell us something something about this elf that's different than the other elf, right? This is the only lead elf. Is he a higher advanced elf or something from somewhere else where them getting stabbed means nothing? Then why was he on the floor acting like he was shitting out his freaking mouth? If not, and they're all just the same, which we've seen, there's no reason for him to be walking around like nothing happened. Another elf took an arrow to the stomach and Galadriel used her ring to heal him. Took the arrow out and completely healed his wound, which we're also gonna get into in a second. But that elf was dying from that freaking arrow, and this guy got stabbed twice and he's fucking okay.
These are not merely wounds of the body. Her very immortal spirit is being drawn into the shadow realm.
Oh, how cute. He turned the ring over so he was hiding it. Oh no. So then Elrond sees her ring and he's like, she's dying. Oh no. So what would you, okay guys, based on what you've seen before, where Galadriel used, when she had her ring on, she healed that other elf, right? When they ran, what would you have thought would be the next step, what Elrond was going to do? We just got a scene of Adar saying that this wound, sometimes the ring sometimes heals even old wounds. What would be the logical thing to try in this situation? Because if you're thinking, put the ring on Galadriel and see if that will heal her, because that's what its power is, I guess. She's shown that she can heal herself or heal others with the ring on. Have Elrond put on the ring in that moment and tried to heal her in that moment. If you thought any of those things, which would be a logical conclusion to draw up,
They're losing her.
you're supposed to already be lost, bro. Why are you still here? Did they change their minds last minute? Then why did they even put that you got stabbed? Go away. You're a ghost.
The darkness is too powerful. I cannot save her.
I can. We can.
They cut away because Elrond puts on the ring, which she didn't want to do. And I figured, okay, maybe they're both going to use their rings together and put their thing over and try to, right? Because that would make sense. We cut back to Nori. Oh God. Okay, so we're almost done. We're almost done. As I've said, I don't particularly care for or care about Nori or Poppy anymore. Their storyline is insignificant in my opinion. And there is this voiceover thing going on.
Told me some things can't be fixed. Some things lost are lost forever.
They see the loss of Evregion and all of the elves moving away. We see fucking Thought and her fiance trying to hold her hand, and she's not even holding his hand. He must know that she's cheating on him. And she's like, I gotta stay with this guy. No, bitch. You couldn't go with him, but if you really don't love your fiance, why would you stay with him? Oh, things I want to call this character. Oh my God. And he's on a ship. He didn't stay with her though. That's how funny this is. He was like, I'm going back to Numenor because I got family and you're not one of them. So it is what it is. I can't stay with you. So get fucked, literally, by your fiance, you know? And they're all staring at each other and he's all sad, whatever. Muriel is arrested. Nobody cares. This dude's dream comes true. Nobody cares about him either. Sauron is like, oh, I got I can rebuild and do stuff. And this part is just kind of crazy to me because they're trying to say goodbye to the stranger guy. And remember how everyone knows he's Gandalf. Everyone knows he's Gandalf. But they said, you know, you got to pick your name and your staff. And the way that they're so on the nose with this is nauseating. Honestly, absolutely insulting to the audience, insulting to the writers, and nauseating. Oh.
Don't be a stranger now.
Thank you kindly, Grand Elf.
They called him Grand Elf. Grand Elf. Oh, you thought this is bad. Oh wait, it gets even worse. So, as far as I know, unless there's, like my husband said, his whole conspiracies, there's a whole episode missing. I think he's giving a little bit too much grace to the writers. But the term Grand Elf had never been used in Rings of Power to describe the Stranger. Everyone calls him the Stranger. Throughout the series, the Harfoots and other characters refer to him as the Stranger, or similar descriptors based on his mysterious appearance, or maybe wizard or whatever, right? So introducing this title out of nowhere in this final episode feels so completely disjointed and jarring as hell from the whole rest of the show. there's no prior buildup or explanation as to why they're calling him that. It feels like they just name drop this for some shock value or like provide some quick closure, or they're like, we gotta make sure that he's called Gandalf, and they didn't have time, and they're like, okay, just, I don't know, make them make a off gesture of what his name kind of sounds like.
Thank you kindly, Grand Elf.
My Grand Elf.
Grand Elf?
They've never seen an elf before. Never even left home before.
So her explanation is like, they've never seen an elf before. Then why would they just come to that conclusion that he's not only an elf, but a grand elf? Did they talk about elves before? There's no prior reference or context. It's just forced and jarring. Call me crazy, but there is no evidence or dialogue suggesting that these Harfeet people have any specific knowledge on what an elf is supposed to look like, as Nori said, or what they should behave like. In fact, the stranger, the powers that he has, they're reminiscent of a wizard. That's what people were even referring him to as. Like, them not saying good wizard or grand wizard or whatever. That doesn't make any sense why they would just suddenly shift to calling him an elf. They don't know what elves look like, and as far as they know, he shares the same magical prowess as wizards. So calling him good wizard or grand wizard would have made more sense. And then they just lazily throw in some bullshit explanation that really still doesn't make sense. It makes it even more confusing. So they go their distant ways because they're like, you have a thing to do, I have a thing to do, goodbye. Then he finds his staff, and that becomes his staff. Then the scene changes. He goes back to Tom Bombadil and he says, it was all a test, right? To see if I would choose my friends.
I was meant to choose friendship over power. I was meant to help. I was meant to find this.
A wizard does not find his staff. It finds him, like his name.
Gandalf.
The biggest issue with this whole thing, the two don't sound anything alike. Grand Elf, Gandalf. Maybe if you're not listening that closely, you can say so, but how did he get Gand from Grand and Alf from elf? Especially when they had said previously something about the Gand being referred to as the staff. It just doesn't work linguistically. Grand Elf is a two-word title with a clear, distinct meaning, and Gandalf is a single name with a very different linguistic structure. How did he arrive at the singular word? It's like the Rings of Power was trying to replicate the dramatic, emotional reveal of how Hodor got his name in Game of Thrones. But I'm sorry, the whole attempt of them trying to do this feels forced as hell. It lacks the careful buildup. In Game of Thrones, the reveal of how Hodor got his name was a deeply emotional and tragic moment. Dude, they had this being built up for several seasons. He was originally saying, hold the door. And it wasn't just a literal instruction. It became this tragic loop where Hodor's entire life was shaped by this moment of sacrifice. Then they had the time thing along with it. That was amazing. It's like that was his one purpose.
Hold the door! Hold the door! Hold the door! Hold it! Hold the door! 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 Hold the door!
Man, that was so sad watching that. Like, that's one of the saddest deaths I've ever seen on screen. And when you realize, like, everyone was like, oh shit. To find out that's how it all happened and how everything was interconnected, that was an amazing, that was some good writing right there. Back when the writing was nice. This was season 6. Very, very amazing. Very haunting, very terrible. I don't even know. It tied together Bran's powers and Hodor's past and, you know, this ultimate purpose in a way that felt tragic but meaningful. It made sense in the context of the story. Him being like, wow, those little whorefoot things called me Grandalf. I think my name's gonna be Gandalf. Like that. It just feels really rushed, and it lacks the emotional buildup that made Hodor's reveal more powerful, that made more sense. I would have more so respected if he called himself Grand Elf, and then he met some other people along the way, and they called him Gandalf, and he kept correcting them, and they're like, no, you're Gandalf, because they can't say Grand Elf for whatever reason, and he's just like, whatever, that's just, I guess that's my name now, whatever. There didn't feel like any emotional payoff whatsoever. Then we find out that Durin is now supposed to be the king, but the other other dwarves are laying claim. Apparently Durin has a brother, and now his brother is getting an army or people together because he wants to take the father's throne. Then we get Galadriel waking up, and this is how she was saved. I could be misunderstanding, but okay. This is how she was saved.
What is this place?
The sanctuary, protected by the elven rings.
Okay, how was she saved? Why couldn't you have just put the ring on her? Why is he still walking? Why did he have no downtime or preparation or healing? Well, we just forgot he got stabbed, okay? So then they talk about Sauron's armies and what he's planning to do. Then they ask, what would you advise Commander Galadriel, even though we haven't seen her commanding any armies? And she says, I'll remember what my dear friend Celebrimbor said. It's not strength that overcomes darkness, but light, okay? And then all of the elves see Galadriel stand up. The no sideburns guy is like, ah, my sword. Yeah. And all of the freaking elves are like, yeah. We don't know why we're screaming, but yeah, you're doing it, so we're doing it too. Oh my God, check me out. Galadriel's all better now because of reasons. We don't know how long it took for them to get here. We don't know. I'm so fucking tired. Like, what a piece of shit. My head is hurting. My head is legit hurting right now. I'm not even trying to be funny. Like, I have the biggest headache just wrapping around my skull. The writing of the Rings of Power is an exercise in abject disappointment. It's a freaking smorgasbord of narrative misfires wrapped in these glossy visuals, but it thoroughly lacks any substance that people might expect from something even remotely connected to Tolkien's legendary lore. And this is coming from someone who predominantly just watched the movies and knows nothing, basically nothing. I know about the elves though, and that for me was surprising to say the least. The direction that they took with every single one of the characters in this. If I were to convey my thoughts in an eloquent manner, I would say that it's as if the showrunners took the shimmering threads of Middle-earth's rich tapestry and ball them up and mangle them into this knot of incoherent plots, shallow character arcs, and gaping narrative inconsistencies that insult both the source material and the intelligence of the audience. Sauron, who is built up to be this menacing and complex villain, is reduced to this tantrum-throwing, emotionally conflicted character whose behaviors oscillate so wildly that it almost feels like the writers don't know what to do with him. On one hand, he's manipulating armies with the flick of his wrist. He's powerful, he's calculating, and in the next, he's somehow powerless in a scenario where he should be effortlessly dominating. These people who decided to write this, I can guarantee you that they're just trying to cash in the name of the Lord of the Rings without understanding a shred of what made the world magical in the first place. Utter chaos. It is such a train wreck that is so grand in a scale that it's almost impressive in its failure. How should I say? It's a symphony of mediocrity conducted by people that are so seemingly deaf to the very music they're supposed to be playing that Abysmal doesn't even seem to cover it. It's almost as bad as Wheel of Time, and that's saying a lot. And we've got 3 more seasons. But you know what? The first 2 seasons of Picard were disgusting. And then they dropped that 3rd season. Bro, best TV ever. The first season of Loki was whatever. Then they dropped that 2nd season. And it's very rare wins like this that makes me hold out hope that things can get better. I guess we'll have to wait and see.